Welcome to the Driven Young podcast with Byron Dempsey, dedicated to educating and inspiring the younger generation around entrepreneurship and practical life skills we aren't taught in school. Created for young people who seek direction in establishing their goals and passions. This podcast provides a platform for discussing the steps taken by professionals in their field related to handling finances, making money online, starting a business, growing a network, and much more. And now your host, Byron Dempsey.
Welcome back to the Driven Young podcast, and today is an epic episode. I started this podcast to bring value to the younger generation, and that is exactly what this episode is all about. This guy reached out to me through Instagram and asked if we could have a quick Skype chat. We instantly hit it off and I invited him on the podcast. Andrew Riis, a 21-year-old entrepreneur who has an interesting take on life and people. He recently got back from an event with Yes Theory in LA and is planning a massive trip around America next year with no money, just relying on the kindness of strangers. We get into lots about what is wrong with the current education system, how we can start networking and building powerful relationships from our bedroom with zero face-to-face work needed, and some other awesome stuff. So dial in. This is super valuable if you're part of the younger generation. Now, over to Andrew.
Thanks,
Stoked to have you on.
Yeah, man.
How was LA?
Dude, it was crazy.
So what happened while you were in LA?
Why was I in LA? About 2 weeks ago, I saw an Instagram story saying that Yes Theory was going to throw a live event to bring their community together, have an impact, help them go after what they really want to go after with their lives. And I just got this gut sense to go to LA, help them out with it.
Yeah, sweet.
So I booked a last minute flight and flew over there. Literally, it was 30 hours of flying for 80 hours on the ground, and it was one of the most incredible 3 to 4 day periods of my life so far. Nice.
I love Yes Theory. It's funny. I've been following them way before they blew up, probably when they're below 100k. And it was like this. I remember there was a part in this episode I was watching. It was behind the scenes, and they just had a real quick pan, and I paused it, and they had on their whiteboard, I had we want to hit 1 million subscribers by this date. And I checked the date, and it was 3 months after that date, and they were on 300,000. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, they're not even close. But they just kept at it. And it was everyone knew they were going to get big. For some reason, they just wouldn't grow, and they've finally done it. I think Will Smith kind of launched them up with that whole thing. But yeah, another cool group of guys. So it sounds like it was a sick time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, wild. Yeah.
And let's just reframe a bit.
Sure.
Who are you? What do you do? So you reached out on Instagram. We just connected really well. So I thought I'd bring you on the podcast and basically talk about what we spoke about when we first met, which is kind of entrepreneurship. And we're both 21, so we're young 20s, both kind of passionate about educating the younger generation around entrepreneurship and practical skills that aren't taught in school, and kind of against the traditional path. So tell me a bit about you. What's your journey? What are you up to currently?
Yeah, so I'm Andrew. I'm 21. I grew up in Canada, and my mum is South African and my dad's Danish. So really, I've just been all around the world. Yeah. And much of my life the past few years has been about entrepreneurship and using business as a vehicle, both to kind of have some degree of financial sustainability and also to have impact. And I think, that started when I was really young. I used to import products from China and chuck them on eBay. Yeah. And, I'd come out of year 9, year 10 science class, find out I'd made $40 during that lesson. I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. And then it evolved more into, oh, wow, business is a vehicle not only to make money, but to make a difference. And that, in my view, entrepreneurship and some of those ways of thinking are actually the best way to actually go out, have an impact, and do cool things with your life and have the world end up differently by the end of your life.
Leaving a legacy.
Leaving a legacy.
And as you said, an impact. And so that's what you've done. You've created a company or around Future You. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so Future You started when I met this incredible entrepreneur called Samuel. And I was working on a different business at the time called Virgo, which was doing, team development through social impact projects. And it wasn't really working out, to be frank. I was waking up at 4 a.m. and going to random pitches in the city, but it wasn't working out. And looking back now, I wasn't at the stage of my life and, on my own journey where I could have had that kind of thing be successful.
Yeah.
And so I was chatting to Samuel and I said, Samuel, here's where I'm at. And he said, how about you come and lead this project called Future You? And he'd run an event in his daughter's high school where he brought together a bunch of speakers from a range of fields that had all built lives and careers that they loved. And he ran this event where they shared their journey. They shared, their fears and doubts and how they got to where they ended up getting to. And he's like, I want to turn this into something. And so I helped him turn it into something. We ran a 600-person event like 2 months ago now.
Nice.
I led a team of 40 volunteers on the day. I mean, we've worked with UTS. We've been sponsored by Google. And that's been really great. And this idea of creating something that has an impact, because I was never exposed to these kind of conversations in high school.
Neither was I. And this is the reason I think we've both started something very similar.
Yeah. Like, literally, the way I like to say it is that I was lucky enough to have my life not go the way I wanted it to go growing up, because the only reason I didn't, jump in, and I was just going to be a business analyst for 10 years. And then maybe after that, I'd start my own thing. And then my permanent residency didn't come through on time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shoot, I don't want to pay $40K a year for a uni degree. And then that's what led me to, okay, cool, I'm going to take some time off, explore things, meet people, have different experiences. And that's what led me down the path I'm currently heading down.
And that's what you did. So you took time off?
Well, literally, I mean, it started off being 1 gap year and then 2 gap years. And
but that's good, because I'm always saying to people, like, once you finish high school, you're 17 or 18, you can't possibly know what you want to do at that age. You're so young. And statistically speaking, you're going to be working in a job that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So how can you study for a job that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
So I always say, like, I think taking a gap year, discovering who you are, what you want to do, is one of the best things you could do when you finish high school. And that's what you've done by the sound of it.
100%. And like, it was 1 gap year, turned into 2. And then I actually did spend 1 year at university in Canada last year. And it was really interesting even there, because people are actually discouraged from taking gap years.
Really?
Because it affects the high school's statistics on the number of students that entered first year university.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so some of my friends at McGill were, they're doing degrees they don't even like, and they're already working out what grad program they want to do, and they don't even enjoy that, but they just feel like they should be doing it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just running on autopilot, and there's no awareness of there being something else. I mean, what scared me from spending a year in university was how many 17, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds have already given up on their dreams, given up on the impact they want to have and what they really want to do with their lives. And they're already settling at that age.
Yeah, I was talking to a chick, and she was telling me about this guy who she was just talking to me. She's like, oh, wait, so what are you studying? What are you going to do? And he's like, I don't care as long as I make money. And it's like, it's such a bad mindset to have. Like, you will care in 10 years' time when when you're burnt out from doing something you didn't like. And maybe you're on $150,000 a year, which is good for you.
Yeah.
But it's not going to make you happy.
Yeah.
And I think now we have more opportunity than we've ever had before. You know, especially with online social media.
Yeah.
So you said you were dropshipping, were you?
Yeah, man. Like, yeah.
You were dropshipping because I did dropshipping as well.
Yeah, from China. Yeah.
Well, I broke even, so I considered it like a bit of a win. So the money I put into it, I was getting enough from ad spend. I never went fully into it, but I just explored. Like, I was exploring everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people should be doing, checking out YouTube. How did you get into dropshipping?
Oofed. My family was struggling financially, and so I kind of Googled how to make money online.
Yeah, and that's what popped up.
And I think what popped up first was I convinced my mum to borrow $100 to buy some course to learn how to become an affiliate marketer. And then I got the domain name howtomakemoneyonline.com, and I thought, great, this is going to show up, number 1 in Google. Did my keyword research, used my like HTML and CSS skills, and built a really horrible looking website. And then if they bought the product, it would redirect them through like 5 other products to buy as well.
Nice.
And then that wasn't working, wasn't coming up. And then I debated asking mom whether I could, borrow her credit card to get some pay-per-click advertising. And I eventually decided, nah. And ended up finding, just messaged like a couple hundred sellers on eBay, found out what was hottest at that point in time, and that's how that started.
Yeah, sweet.
It's epic. And at the same time, I think for me, the internet is great from a business perspective, but even what I've really been exposed to, and what's really just shocked me at how much potential there is in the past 6 to 12 months, is literally from a connecting with people perspective. I mean, to draw back to LA, yes, I hung out with Yes Theory, and that was pretty cool. And I also hung out with a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
I mean, like, every single person I hung out with in LA, I had never physically met before. Some were friends of friends, but, the first night I landed in LA, I went to a friend's kind of show, and he runs this really cool project to give up and coming DJs and artists exposure that they otherwise wouldn't get.
Yeah, sweet.
And I connected with him because I was doing this project where I, looked at influencers or authors or whatever it was that I liked and respected, and went to their Instagram posts and found people that had put interesting comments on them, and then DM them saying like, hey, you're free to FaceTime for 5 minutes. I'm doing this project where I chat with random strangers. And so this guy, his name's Anthony, I'd FaceTimed him like from my dad's farm in Canada 6 months ago. And
you
then I DM'd him.
LA.
Yeah, I'm coming to LA. I stayed at his place the first night. He hooked me up with like a free phone plan the whole time I was over there. We're just like super good friends, and it goes way beyond him. Like,
because you met him, he introduced you to other people, and you met them, and
yeah, I met some
it's like a ripple effect. Almost.
Ripple. Yeah, literally, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy for me to think of how many things, how many friends, how many connections, life experiences like only happened because I planted one random seed.
Dude, I got a cool little story as well. Exactly that. See, so for you, you're basically, to summarize what you've just said, you've just said you reached out to this guy, one of probably hundreds almost, in a comment. So you DM'd him and he said, "Hey, you're doing this," and you FaceTimed or
you
FaceTime.
Instagram video.
You met him. You've obviously stayed in touch. So when you went to LA, you hit him up and said, "Hey, I'm in LA. Let's catch up."
Yeah.
He introduced you to a whole bunch of people that you've now got as friends in LA, who are now in your network and your connection, and have led you to more opportunities.
Yeah, like
all because you sent like that one message.
Right. And so it's like, how can you plant as many seeds as possible?
Yeah.
This is one of my underlying life philosophies, is how can I put myself in as many situations as possible to see what happens, because you never know. And I've had so many times where I would have never thought that something would, I mean, I was in India last year. I got flown out to India, and I got to do some comedy for a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and a lot of that came from a random connection that I had where, oh yeah, there's this app called Shaper, which is like Tinder but for networking. Yeah. And my good friend Samuel, who I studied Future U with, we were just randomly talking, and I was like, oh yeah, you should check out Shaper. And then he matched with someone on Shaper who then said, you have to speak to this lady called Kat. And then I met Kat. A bunch of us got sushi like, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. She was running late, had her dress on backwards. It was a mess. And then I was going home. I was at the train station, and she called and she was like, hey, do you guys want to come back and keep hanging out? It was really great chatting to you. Yeah. And so we built a relationship from there. And then, off the back of that, I ended up in India. And it's like, oh, what if I hadn't gone and kept chatting with her? Like, there's so many examples of things in my life where it's like, okay, cool, how can I optimize for planting as many seeds as possible?
I'm exactly the same. So for me, there's like one seed that triggered everything. So I'm trying to think. So I got presented with like an MLM opportunity, right? And I was like, and I had no idea, I had no idea what it was. And so I checked it out. I signed up with these people, and they had like an epic, like every week they'd have meetings, and you go in, it's a team meeting, and you just like learn and everything. And so it was like, they created a really cool environment. And so I didn't stick through with it, but I had this environment, and this introduced me to the whole kind of business mindset, because MLM are huge in personal development. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, in personal development for people out there is like listening to what you're doing right now is personal development. Listening to podcasts, reading books, anything that can help change your mindset and you can learn from. And so I started listening to podcasts, and I got introduced to Gary Vaynerchuk and all those guys online who I started following. And so they really opened my mindset. And literally the only reason I got my job, which got me to where I am with Glenn, so I got my job with Glenn 2.5 years ago, was because they put up an ad targeting anyone who liked Gary Vaynerchuk and video. Yeah. And so the only reason I saw the ad, then I filled out the ad, and then I met him, got introduced to all his people in his network. Yeah. And now here I am today, all because of the tiny thing I did. And you could go back even further. Yeah. Who I met, the person who introduced me to MLM was at an event I went to, and I didn't want to go to, but my mum like made me go. Yeah. And so it's like I went to this event, I had this, then I got introduced to this mindset, and then I got the job, and here we are, all because of one tiny thing. Yeah. I think the other thing that you probably mentioned that was really good is just planting as many seeds and just asking. I think so many people are scared to ask. There's this Steve Jobs video where he talks about when he was like 14, he asked to go work at a computer factory, and he learned about circuit boards and stuff. Yeah. And it's like, he just asked him, and the guy said, yeah, sure. And he, you're a great example going through and just DMing as many people. Like,
yeah, why not?
People wouldn't do it.
No.
So what's the cost?
Yeah.
What are they going to, like, seen you, not respond? Who cares?
Yeah, well, it's like the moment you connect with what you really want to do with your life or what you're curious about, the first thing that's present for you is the gap between where you are now
and where you want to be.
And where you want to be, and whatever that is, or where you think you maybe might want to be. And most people aren't willing to even take the first step.
Yeah.
Most people aren't willing to confront the fact that, you know, they want to do life on their own and be individual, or that they're scared. Yeah.
They say they are, but they're not when it comes to it.
Mm.
Everyone thinks, oh yeah, people. I remember as a kid growing up, I always had this perception that famous people got lucky, they didn't work hard.
Yeah,
I always look at like Justin Bieber or something. He had like a viral video, and then some producer found him, and then they did Baby, and then he just blew up from there. But most people who are successful worked really hard, and I think a lot of people say that when an opportunity comes to them, they'll take it, but they're not realizing that opportunities have come to them and they haven't taken them. Like I've given people stuff, like I was like, oh yeah, come work at this job for free. I'll introduce you to some people. Yeah. And they'll be like, oh, sorry, I've got something on. Yeah. Or sorry, no, I can't. I've got a party that night. I'll be hungover. It's like, seriously? Yeah.
It's 100%. It's crazy for me how many people I will hand opportunities to on a platter, and then they'll they literally need to be forced to take them. And it's like, okay, cool. If that's fine, and I love you, and like whatever, and at the same time I'm not going to keep giving you opportunities. And then you also get the people who are super unexpected that come into your life, and you end up giving them opportunities. Like at our Future You event 2 years ago, one of the people that became a part of it and became one of my really good friends was we moved around in Sydney 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And the owner of the moving companies, or one of the workers, his son ended up connecting with me, and then we became good friends and we became a part of the event. Or our last event, I mean, there was a guy, incredible dude, like super ambitious, big heart, and he we used to catch the same bus together to school. Yeah. And then we're looking at buying a house on the Northern Beaches at the moment. My family is, and we went to tour a house, and he was at that house, and because he works for the real estate company now. And so it's like, hey man, got him back on Facebook, messaged him, and he came along to the event. And it's the people that are willing to say yes to opportunities.
Yeah. Well, same thing with you. You DM me.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, this random guy just reached out to me on Instagram. Yeah. We had 2 mutual friends or something, and I'm like, and he says, I can't remember what you said. You was like, hey man, how's it going? And I was like, what?
Yeah, because you know Jamin or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then someone else, and it's just. I think you took a little while to reply too, and I was like, oh, do I need to send a second message or whatever? Yeah. But I mean,
I was on holidays.
You're on a holiday. Yeah. I mean, it's a low hit rate. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen. But some of my best friends I've never even met face to face.
Same. I've got a friend in London who's probably one of my closest friends.
Oh, dude, same. I've
never met her
in London too.
I can't wait to meet
him. Yeah. It's
crazy.
It's wild. I mean, I did a project last year, I guess 2 separate projects, but one of them was this online project called the Strangers and Dreams project, where I just
Strangers and Dreams
project, where I kind of put this post up, and I connected with hundreds of people commented in the end, but I connected with 10 people from different countries around the world and asked them to share with me a dream that they'd never shared with anyone in their life before.
And they'll do it because that's the kind of the reason I've got my friend in London. Yeah. We can talk about stuff with each other because we have no mutual friends, and we know it's just it's such a safety when it's like a stranger, and if it's a stranger you can trust. Yeah. And did they do it?
Yeah, dude, epic stuff. I mean, disabled people talking about swimming super long distances. Yeah. It's just. And that was just one of the things. I was super inspired. I mean, there was a guy in Africa talking about his internet connection would drop on and off and on and off. And he was talking to me about his desire for people to step up and become more of a community.
Yeah, cool.
And how kind of isolated people can be, and how they can really just focus on themselves, and how his country really needs to come together for it to evolve.
Yeah, nice. That's
Random
awesome.
Guy, middle of Africa, biggest heart. And that's all the time. It's whoa.
You kind of find that though, the people who have nothing are often the happiest and the most positive, which is bizarre, because I guess when you don't have internet, you're not in that whole comparison. You're not seeing what everyone else is doing. It's like, we're probably both incredibly rich in terms of the world global population. We're probably in the top 5%, top 1% even. Yeah. But people will still look at Kylie Jenner or all these people who have more and more, and then they're probably looking at someone who's on top of them, and it's always comparison. Whereas these guys in like Africa and probably not India, but used to be India, but now they've got internet in India. Like they're often so happy just because they not have this whole comparison factor, and they're just appreciative of what they've got.
100%. And I think a lot of that comes from connection, because I have this philosophy that you should totally go for everything you want in your life, and your bucket list, your wild dreams. That's how you feel alive, that's how you get fulfilled largely. So that's awesome. And at the same time, I think the largest thing, the thing that matters most in life is the quality of our relationships with the people around us. Say that again though, let's hear it again. The thing that matters most in life. The thing that matters most in life is the quality of our relationships with the people around us. It's people. That's who we are as humans. We're human beings, and this idea that we can put aside our differences and connect with people at a deep level. And for me personally, dude, there's so much I want to do with my life. Yeah. And at the same time, if I achieve 5% of that, but I'm doing my life with and sharing my life and experiences with epic human beings from around the world, I'll be fulfilled.
Yeah. Let's just stop for a second. Let's because we've just talked about a lot of different stuff. Let's go back and see how can we make this practical for people. Okay. So what you've just said is basically what you do really well is you just reach out to people. Yeah. You're constantly trying to connect. You're constantly something that people need to realize is networking isn't something you do when you're 25 and you've just entered the business world. Yeah. You should be networking from 12 years old, from 10 years old, from 15 throughout high school. You can be networking. Yeah. You just said you met someone on the bus. Yeah. Like why can't you out here on the bus to school? Why can't you meet someone on the bus? Yeah. And just planting seeds. If you think of it like that, planting seeds in everyone you meet, not like it's a strategical way. Just think of it as when you meet someone, you're planting the seed, and it could turn into something. 90% of the time, it might not. Or maybe 99% of the time, it might not. But for that 1%, it can be a huge, give you huge dividends in the situations that we just said, where you met that one person and you ended up in India. And I met the one person, I ended up doing this and this, and which led me to this and this, and now I'm here with my own company doing the podcast and stuff. So I think if you can be networking from a young age, and you do it like you're a master at it through social media. Yeah.
I only realized a year ago that I was like, shoot, I haven't done this at all on social media. And then I just started messaging people. It's like, whoa. So maybe if we can offer a few tactical things for your listeners in terms of how to go about it.
Yeah. So what we've just talked about. Yeah, that's great, Byron. That's great. All good and fun. You guys are talking about this, but how do we do it? How do we do what you've been talking about? Yeah. So you DM. So how do you find people on Instagram?
Yeah, well, I would go one step beforehand. I would start off with, how do you view the world? Because Einstein has this quote, which I love, and it's what much of my life is about, is, the most important decision we can make in our lives is if the world is a friendly or a hostile place. Because if we decide the world's hostile, then we, build our walls taller, then we protect ourselves more. And if we decide the world's friendly, then everything we do, our technology, it all amplifies our connection. So first of all, you have to make a decision, because if you view the world as this dangerous, hostile place, you're not going to be able to make those connections in the first place.
And by that, you mean like someone who would, let's say we've got someone who has that view. The difference is when you message them, they're going to ignore you. They're going to be like, who's this creepy guy messaging me, right? Or someone who's got a friendlier view. Who's this guy who's reached out to me? I'll see what he's about. Yeah. Because that was me, right? When you messaged me, I was like, who's this guy? And I was like,
literally.
I'll respond, see what's going on. And then you started having a chat, and then we met up, and it was worked out great. Yeah. And so if you can go from don't have the initial thought when you get a DM from someone reaching out to you. Right. Don't have a negative thought. Think, okay, why is he reaching out to me? Obviously for girls it's a bit harder because they often do get creepy guys.
And if it's also like Forex traders.
Or MLM, or it could be, some Indian guy wanting to, send you money or something. But obviously Instagram, you can check out the profile and you can kind of, in 10, 20 seconds, you can kind of go, okay, these guys are legit. Yeah. So that's what you would say, try bring down your mindset. So bring down your walls.
Like be open to the world being friendly, because if you're closed-minded to it, you'll be like, this isn't working. And why it's actually not working is because of your actions, and the way you're kind of filtering in the information you're receiving is as a result of that underlying mindset. Yeah. So pretend, like, play around with yourself, have a game that the world is friendly, and just see what happens. And then from there, what I did that worked really well was I went to a bunch of people that I look up to and respect, that are doing interesting things with their lives and have a decent following on social media. And
yes,
Yeah.
This is huge.
Yeah.
This is huge for
Not
me.
just like random ones, but
No, this is
super specific.
So this is like half the reason I started the podcast, right? Because when I was in high school, I started listening to these people you just said. Like, I could, Gary Vaynerchuk or, these business guys. I'm a marketer. That's why I like Gary, because he does both the same things. But I want, Ed Milet, I'm a big fan of him. There's heaps of guys. Mel Robbins is a great woman to follow online. All these people are putting out content on social media that you can learn from and you can help change your mindset. And so that's what you're saying. Start following these cool people.
Yeah, follow them. And also for me, a bunch of the value, even if I'm going to events, the value is often less about the person running the page or less about the person speaking at the event and more about the people that, that Instagram page attracts or that event attracts. Because if they have a similar mindset to me, a similar approach to life, then, it becomes super valuable and we connect. We just click, right? So I would go on and I would DM a bunch of people that had interesting comments. And as a kind of segue in, I said that I was doing a project where I connected with one stranger a day over Instagram. And it's a gentle opener, people that are, happy to connect.
That's really good. That's really good.
People are like, okay, cool. And then, you chat with them, arrange a time, ask them what time zone they're in, line something up. And then I just started having conversations.
And that's seed. Seed planted.
Right? And it doesn't need to go anywhere. And at the same time, just learning and experimenting. And there's such a beauty and something so profound in connecting and resonating at a deep level with a human being on the other side of the world and talking about, life and
whatever it is,
all that you share and how you have so much in common. So yeah, I would message about 5 people a day.
Nice.
And I did that for a couple of weeks, and then the replies started building up, I just had to stop messaging people, and then I just started speaking to people.
And so let's go back. So what you basically just said is you'll find an event that you resonate with or a speaker that you resonate with. Yeah,
that's in person. So if we're talking Instagram, I'm talking more of finding a page.
Oh, okay. So let's say an event or a page or someone. Let's find a social media influencer that is putting out content that you really enjoy. Basically, what you're saying is you're probably not going to be able to reach out and connect with the main guy. Let's say he's got 1 million followers. You could, but he's very busy and stuff. And so what you do is you reach out to people who follow him because they're going to have the same interests as you. They're probably going to be open-minded. They're going to want, they might be open to having a conversation. Yeah. And so that's practical. You first change your mindset. Second, find a page or something that you really admire. Yeah. On Facebook or Instagram, and you can reach out to people in the comments, and you reach out to 5 a day. Yeah. How many didn't respond?
Oh, actually, like half the people will respond.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, probably like 2 out of 5 I'll end up having a conversation with.
Yeah, wow. Okay. That's really good.
I was shocked. Yeah. For me, it's probably because the kind of pages are open-minded things. Like if it's Yes Theory, if it's Elliot Bisnow, Summit Series, Tim Ferriss, whatever it is. For other people, it may be different depending on your interests. And at the same time, you already have something in common with that person because you're following that page. Yeah. And I would add something to my messages, which was linking to that comment. And actually, I would reply to that comment saying, "Hey, love your comment. Engage with them in some way. Just sent you a DM. Would love to connect or something."
Sweet. Like that. All right. What's next? So
you've connected. Then you chat with them.
You've chatted. So you comment, send them a message. Then you literally chat with them. Like
you line up a time
over Zoom.
Hey, what time zone are you in right now? I'm in Sydney. If you want to get tactical, I will work out how to minimize the number of message exchanges back and forth, because each exchange makes it less likely from a time and effort perspective on their part that it'll end up happening. And I'm super confident that once I can get someone face to face like this, or once I can get someone on a video call, like whatever, I've got in the bag, I know how to connect with people. Yeah. But it's like, okay, cool. How can I almost convert as many people as possible that I want to get to that point?
And the thing is, once you've had that video chat and you get along and you like each other, then you obviously add each other on LinkedIn or whatever it is.
Sure, yeah.
You've got them, and now they're in your network. Now you think of it like they're in like your arsenal of your network. So whenever you say you've got an opportunity that suits them, you can just go pull them out and call them up and say, "Hey, I've got something that's happening," and vice versa. If I've got an opportunity that suits you. Like you come to LA, you can just pull them out of your arsenal and go, "Hey, I'm in LA, let's connect." And if you can build it all around the world, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and the only gap between that first comment, reply, or message on Instagram and having incredible friends all around the world is your communication skills. And that's like one of the most important things for people to develop.
Communication skills.
And actually, like, what questions are you asking? How can you be interesting? How can you be different? Yeah. Like when I meet people at an event, I have 2 go-to questions. One is, what would you do for the rest of your life if money was no object and it was impossible to fail?
Yeah.
And the second one is, I get them to guess how long they think they're going to live. I'm like, okay, cool. How long do you think you're going to live? They're like, 90. I'm like, okay, cool. So, you're 30 now, you got 60 years left. So let's say that hypothetically, like, life on Earth is over in 1,000 years. Your lifetime is like from here to here, and then life on Earth ends here. It's like, okay, cool. If we were to look at the end of life on Earth, or hypothetically some point in time 1,000 years from now, if you could have that look any way at all because of how you live your life, how would you like it to look and why? And get them thinking not just about, the impact they want to have in their time on Earth now and how they want to spend their next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But like, if the world was a blank canvas 1,000 years from now and your life was the paint on it, what would you like it to look like? And you don't have to ask that specific question, but when you start mixing it up and having your relationships be more about connection than transactions, and fun and play and relating to the experience of life, then it's so much fun. And you look back, a year or two on, and you're like, oh wow, I actually have all these epic people in my life. And it's like, wow, I guess that kind of happened.
And it's huge.
Yeah.
Especially because if you can have these connections early on, right, it's going to benefit. And let's say by the time you hit 21, our age or something. I wish I'd started doing this at 15, 16. I kind of did, but not to this degree. Let's say you hit maybe 23 or something, and you've got 1,000 people you've done this with. That's 1,000 people in your network. You can now, whenever you have something, they're going to support you. Whenever you're launching something, if you're launching a book or you've got a podcast or you do something, they're going to share it on the Instagrams. They're going to do anything for you. If you're in London, you've got free accommodation. You can essentially get free accommodation around the world if you've got this connection.
Yeah, I guess
you can accommodate to people who come to Sydney or wherever you live. So it's just like the benefits are, for the amount of work of just messaging someone and then having a quick call, it's so little, and it's such a practical way to build your network that I haven't heard before. So I discussed it, but just before the episode, we hopped on about this woman who I had on, Brioni, and she talked about how she would go to events and build for free. She'd volunteer her time. Similarly, she would network with the people at the event, and she'd network with the speakers. So there's another practical way to build your network. But this is even easier. Even easier,
because I used to do events as well. And I used to buy a VIP ticket if I could afford it, because you likely meet people that are more committed. And even if I didn't buy a VIP ticket, as soon as we'd go to the lunch break, I'd run up the front to one of the VIPs and be like, hey, I'm Andrew, do you want to go for lunch? But that can be hard and can be more intimidating. This is simple. You have no excuse not to, even if it's not super successful people that will become mentors, even if it's just like-minded young people or people that are viewing life the same way as you have no excuse not to have friends all over the world.
Yeah.
And plus it's like incredibly fun and fulfilling. Like, who cares about the tactical benefits?
I'm going to do this. I'm 100% going to do this. Yeah. Like, I didn't realize to the detail you were doing it. But like, this is so, you're right. There is no excuse. Oh, I'm busy with uni. It doesn't take long. You can do it when you're on your phone. You can do it on the train. You can do it when you're on the toilet. You can do it. You don't have to like sit down at the desk, get your laptop out, and dedicate an hour. You can just do it whenever you want and maintain the conversations. And it's just you're right. It does go back to that, having the open mind, and you got to understand that people aren't going to respond. One way to look at it, if you are scared of the rejection of people not responding and reaching out to people, one way you can actually play a game is more you try get rejected. So you send a message, and if they don't respond to you, that's good. You go, okay, good, now I'm closer to someone responding. So there's this analogy a mentor taught me like 2 years ago, and he applied it to sales, but it applies to what you were just saying, and basically anything. If you have a deck of cards, imagine 52 cards in a deck, right? If you imagine a sale or someone responding, or when you approach a girl, this is a girl you hit it off with, whatever the situation is an ace. So there's 4 aces in the deck. That means out of the 52 cards, there's going to be 4 yeses or 4 closes or whatever it is. If you flick the deck over and let's say you get 9 of hearts, okay, that's a rejection. But what it means is there's now 53 cards in the deck, which means you're closer to getting that ace. So you now flip another card over. It's 8 of diamonds, 6 of diamonds, 3 of spades, club, 4 of clubs or something. You've now got 48 cards in the deck, which means you're even closer. And so if you think of it like that, every time you get rejected, or every time you don't get that sale, or you don't get what you want, you're that much closer to getting it. It's a really good mindset to have, and it can kind of be quite game changing. And like, if we want to take it really deep, let's do it, dude. Let's do it. I have this other mindset, which is
part of the problem you might be afraid of getting rejected or someone not responding is because you're assigning in a binary way good or bad to that specific scenario or interaction. That's a very limiting way to view life. Like, dude, I mean, just to share, in my life, growing up, my parents had a really messy divorce.
Yeah.
Like super messy divorce.
That's rough.
And once when I was younger, we were meant to go on holiday to New Zealand, and we got taken off the plane because my dad had filed a last minute thing claiming we were a flight risk.
Oh, so your dad wasn't on the plane?
No, my dad moved back to Canada.
No way.
Yeah. And so we had to delay our holiday, and we ended up in New Zealand 3 months later. And I was planning on staying on in New Zealand and doing some of my own traveling, and I'd saved up a bit of money for it and I was ready, and got an email from my dad saying, I'm flying over from Canada to visit you. And I'll be in Sydney as of like the next few days. I'm like, shoot, like, Dad, I love you. And at the same time, you've done all this stuff. And it's like, I'm not going to be in Sydney. I'm going to be in New Zealand. But the part of me that still really loved him was like, all right, cool. I'm going to leave New Zealand early. I'm going to fly back to Sydney. And I flew back to Sydney. And the same day I flew back to Sydney, got home, chucked on my suit, headed back out to a book launch of this really cool book called Unwritten by this incredible man called Jack Delosa. And it was at that night when I met Samuel, who I ended up starting Future You with, has become one of my best friends.
Oh, no way.
So
that's sick.
If my parents hadn't got divorced, I would have never met Samuel.
Well, and it's if you had let your anger towards your father outweigh your love for him, you would have stayed in New Zealand and not had gone back to meet him.
Yeah, and I have so many examples of scenarios like this, which has gotten me to a place where I'm no longer okay with saying this is bad or this is good, because there's no way of knowing. I mean, there's an analogy of, a guy that complains he got in a car crash, and then because of the car crash, they do a scan and find out he has a tumor that they can remove in time, so he lives. But if it wasn't for the car crash, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool. So when you plant all the seeds, you have to trust. I mean, that's what Steve Jobs said. You have to trust in something, whatever it is, faith, your God, destiny, karma, because that's what gives you the courage to follow your heart when it leads you off the well-worn path, trusting that the dots will connect.
And they will. Like, because there'll be people who listen to this, right? They'll be like, this all sounds very motivational and positive, and people just, they hear motivational and stuff like this, and they just go, they ignore it.
I hate motivation. Yeah.
Which is, that's that mindset we said where they have their walls up. And I think if you can bring your walls down and listen to what you've just said and what I've been saying about how planting a seed here, it can just grow into a massive tree, which is what you're basically just saying.
Yeah.
It can be game changing.
And that's why you should chat with one stranger a day over Instagram or whatever, because in each conversation, it requires you to put your walls down and practice communicating with someone else in a way that has them put their walls down.
Let's do it then. I'm going to chat to a stranger today.
Dude,
and if you're listening,
Yeah.
let's make this happen. I'm going to put it out there. Let's chat to a stranger a day. To summarize how to do that, find a page or a person on Instagram that you really admire and like, and you like what they stand for. A few examples: Yes Theory. People I follow: Gary Vaynerchuk, Tim Ferriss. Mel Robbins is a great one as a female leader. Heaps of people out there. Just do some Googling, whatever you're attracted to. Maybe you like, maybe you're a vegan and you want to follow vegan influencers putting stuff out there. Go into their comments, find someone who's put a proper comment, not just love heart eyes or like a spammy comment. Someone who's actually put because they can be bots or whatever it is. Find someone who's put a comment, send them a DM. What did you say? Hey, I'm just doing a challenge.
Yeah, doing a project where I speak to like one stranger a day. Like, are you interested? If so, what time zone are you in?
Yeah. Oh, so you'd go for you'd try book them in for a literal chat straight away.
Yeah, well, I'd probably get the yes, and then from there, I'd make it happen. The minimum amount of messages possible.
Yeah, because the more
back
likely
and
to
forth, the
respond.
less likely it is to actually happen.
But once you've got them in face to face, which is what you did with me.
Yeah.
Like I was chatting to you. We had a few comments back and forth, but then we had a chat. I was like, oh, this guy's awesome.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And now you're on the podcast.
And once you can trust yourself to the point where you're like, okay, cool. As long as I get face to face, I'm chill. Then you're fine with whatever happens.
And have it so use that mindset. If they don't respond, that you're that much closer to the next response. So every time someone doesn't respond, that's a card down, and you're closer to an ace. So even if you're getting 5 even if you message a whole bunch of people, no one responds, you're that much closer to getting a response.
Yeah, and also take into account that maybe the fact that they didn't respond is a good thing, because maybe during the time that you otherwise would have been chatting to them, you'll be on the bus to the city and meet the love of your life that you otherwise wouldn't have met. Or maybe during the time that you would have otherwise been chatting to them, this other crazy opportunity comes up, or it gives you the time to meditate that day, which leads to something else that you may not even realize 5 years down the track.
This is what
so embrace it all.
This is Jamin's thing, right? This is what we talked about, Jamin. Yeah. You're the storyteller. Yeah. And so what you just said there is you're telling the story that, oh, they didn't respond to me. Oh, they must think I'm annoying. They must think I'm weird or something. That's the negative version. Yeah. But the story you just said is, oh, they didn't respond to me. It's meant to be because I'm going to now be doing something else instead of talking to them, or whatever it is. It's
like what Tony Robbins speaks about, like view life as happening for you, not
to you. Yeah.
And whether it actually is or not doesn't matter, and you're gonna die anyway. But it's a lot more fun and fulfilling to view it from that way. I mean, why not?
Yeah, I love that. It's a great challenge. So let's definitely do it.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. I think it's been an awesome conversation. Just let's go back to LA. Okay. I want to kind of. I know you put up a big post on Instagram with a big caption, just kind of. You kind of, obviously you've got back from LA, you're probably jet lagged, and you've just gone, man, what just happened? I've been gone for 5 days. Yeah. 2 of those days I was on the plane. 3 of them I met all these people. I met Yes Theory. I met the guys from Yes Theory. If you don't know Yes Theory, check them out. They're awesome. Tell me a bit about that caption. Like, what was that for you? And how did you, so you explained how you got to LA. Was that through just the connections that you mentioned?
Actually, yeah, man. Dude, I tried like 5 different paths to get in touch with the manager. I'd emailed Thomas earlier this year, one of the boys from Yes Theory, about helping them out. We shot a few emails back and forth, and I was like, I saw so much potential in taking the online audience and having physical events that connect them at a deep level. And like, I love that kind of thing. My life, my vision is to take the world from this to that, to connect people at a deep level through experiences. So I emailed him back and forth a few times, and then I hit up Zach when I found out about the event, and that was only one of the approaches though. Like, I tried 4 or 5 other ones. I emailed Thomas, emailed Matt, emailed Amar, friends of friends, all sorts of different approaches. Made a doc about how much value I could add, helping out with the live event, a bunch of things that they could think of addressing. What ended up working was, like 2 months ago, I FaceTimed this random guy while he was on a boat heading to Morocco. That was a friend of a friend that I met on Instagram. And he knows the Yes Theory manager. And he randomly sent me a message saying, hey man, how you doing? And then we talked, and he was like, I'll just intro you to the manager. So yeah. One FaceTime that I took on the train from heading back from the city. From a random comment. From a random, I even forget how it came about. Yeah. I was tired, but I just like had a call with this guy. He seemed chill. You only need 10 minutes, right? Dude, it doesn't have to. If you know how to communicate, it takes no time. Yeah, that's unreal. You get 0 to 100 in the first minute. So it's actually super ironic that of all the approaches I tried, like whenever I want to, I'm a big fan of, planting the seeds and seeing what you can make happen and not being attached to it. And at the same time, whenever I want to make a specific result happen, I'll try 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 approaches until one lands. And the one that worked came from a random guy that I've never met in person. And that's often how it works, because when you're reaching out, Yes Theory is quite big now, or whoever you're trying to reach out to, either they probably get hundreds a day or hundreds a week or something. So it's like, how do you differentiate yourself? You can do the docs, you can do all that strategies, but the easiest way is if you have someone who knows them personally and can intro you. So you can just go, they can connect you, and then they can connect to that person, they'll connect to you, and you're in. And that's not to say you don't need skills. I'm at a point where I trust myself and I know I add massive value. And I know I can communicate. I know I can make things happen. I added a bunch of value for the event. And at the same time, it's having those conversations. Awesome. And it's something we're both super passionate about. You mentioned kind of bringing the world from this to that. And it's I'm passionate about the younger generation. I think we're probably going to do some stuff in the future together, I reckon. Man. But I want to start the podcast comes step 1. I want to do some networking at groups specifically for young people. Okay. So it's not intimidating, right? So everyone's young, everyone's doing the same thing. If you go to a networking group now, there's going to be 50-year-old guys who have a big business. There's going to be all these people, which is great connections to have, but it can be intimidating. Yeah. Because my dad actually ran a networking company when I was in high school. And I would go to it, and I was kind of building my network that way. But because I was doing video stuff, so I do some jobs, and it was cool. But I think that's something I definitely kind of want to get going for people who are listening. Once again, bringing in practical, it's how do I
so we can do the Instagram, but how do I surround myself with like-minded people and stuff? You can do it online, like you've just suggested.
Dude, easily.
There are young networking stuff out there. I want to start one in the future, so keep an eye out for that. You've got your events, Future You. So that's You've got events for young people. Like, there's lots of stuff out there if you open your mind and you Google.
and you like get started, like rock up at something, but be willing when you're early on to, you know, head into the city at 4 a.m. for a chance to pitch something for 30 seconds.
Be willing to eat shit. You know, Gary says, eat shit now and have caviar for the rest of your life.
And like also actually connect with yourself and the impact you want to have. Because if you live from the heart and you're committed to not just, you know, getting rich, but actually building a life you love, having a community of people around you, and leaving the world a bit better than you found it, people love to get behind you.
And you don't have to leave it better by impacting tens of thousands of people, right? No. If you impact 5 people and then everyone's impacting 5 people, like that's a huge impact. If that makes sense. So we're talking about doing it like, you know, using social media, impacting lots of people. So that's not attractive to some people. They might not like being the face and being out there. But if you just impact 1 or 2, 3 people in your life, maybe save someone's life who was feeling suicidal, maybe you get someone out of a job that they hated and now they're doing something passionate. And now that person who's doing a job that's passionate impacts another person. Yeah. And they get them out of the job they're doing. They're like, oh, hey, dude, I just quit my job 3 years ago. It's been the best decision. I'm doing something I love, even though I'm on a lower paycheck. And then they go, oh, cool, I'm going to do that. Yeah. And it's once again, it's a ripple effect.
Dude,
take advantage.
You don't need to be some influence. Like, I don't chuck a bunch of stuff on social media about like how you should live life. I would rather live my philosophy and have it wear off on people than directly preach it. So like, I don't do this kind of thing all the time. And I'll get to a point when I do, and you know, maybe that'll be a few years from now, maybe that'll be 5, 10, but I'm in no rush. And for everyone listening, it's like the way you live your life is contagious. Literally, like your mindset, your approach, your philosophy, and just having the impact on the people around you. I mean, how many people nowadays aren't even close to their family? Yeah,
it's crazy. Even though it's never been easier to be closer to them with social media. I can get my phone and message my mum. I can call her right now. So it's never been easier, but some people aren't.
Yeah, like I'll probably FaceTime my dad on the way back to the city. Like, what? So it starts with the people around you.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, this might be a bit difficult because I feel like we've just spent the entire episode talking about this question.
No.
What would your one piece of advice be for the younger generation? Talking 12, high school, uni, 12 years old to 23. If you had one piece of advice, we've just given a lot about networking, about reaching out and kind of changing your mindset. What would your one piece of advice be?
One piece of advice.
Yeah. It's a tricky question.
Yeah. I would say that there's 2 ways to go about life. And for many people listening, like you have an incredible mind and you can do so much with your mind. And the one way to go about life is to look at your mind and leverage it with what you want to build and get super strategic and do all the right things and build this glamorous, impactful, great life. And many people go and do that, and that's amazing and good for them. And the second way to live, kind of like what I was talking about on my Instagram post, is, as the third level of life, is to live with the heart more and to take the time to slow down and work out what you really want to do with your life. Take the time to expose yourself to new experiences and be open-minded.
Take a gap year. Travel, meet people.
Yeah.
And through that, you're going to discover who you are.
Yeah. And have the courage to live a life where you listen to your gut sense and your heart, and then your mind amplifies and builds out whatever's in here, rather than just living your life from the mind.
Love it, man. And take risks as well. Dude, that's something we were talking about a while ago, was take risks. You're young.
Literally.
If you take a risk right now, if you ruin, if you take a huge risk, you lose a bit of money.
Right.
You're still at home, or you're still living at home. You've still got food coming in. You don't have kids to look after. You don't have a wife, or you don't have responsibilities. So just take a risk now.
I get fired up about this. Like, there's this quote, which is, if you don't take too many risks while you're young, you get accustomed to the barnacles of the good life, and then from there, it's like you'll never break out of it. I know a bunch of people that are living like, oh, cool, I'm just going to do what I'm supposed to do in my 20s. And then in my 30s, I'll go and do what I really want to do with my life.
That's the problem. But when you're in 30s, suddenly you've got a wife, you're starting to have a kid, you've got a mortgage, you've got stuff to do. It's like suddenly you've hit your 30s and you're going, oh, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do it because I'm trapped.
Yeah.
It's like, so do it now.
Exactly. So am I going to see another Instagram story or some form of it with another opportunity to spend 30 hours on a plane and buy a last minute flight to spend 80 hours? By the way, I bought my plane ticket before I even knew that I was going to be in touch with Yes Theory, before I even knew that I was
for the event.
For the event.
Yeah, because you
like
had
throw
the
your
dates.
hat over the fence. Yeah, I just knew that it was going to work out. Like, and I'm going to risk. I'm going to be taking dozens and dozens and dozens of risks like that over the next few months, over the next few years. And that's fine. Like, I have a safety net to fall back on.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this, you probably do as well. You might be thinking, oh, these guys, you know, maybe if you're not in Sydney, you grew up in Sydney. I didn't grow up in Sydney, by the way. I grew up in a small town in New Zealand with 30,000 people. With it, like, I'm not trying to say that I was in poverty or anything, but if you're listening to this, it means you've got access to a phone, internet, Wi-Fi. You probably have a family. You probably have a house. Like, if shit hits a fan, you can go back to them. Yeah. But there's gonna be a time in your life when you can't really do that.
And you have to jump off the cliff before you have it all figured out.
Yeah, jump off the cliff, make the plane on the way down.
Yeah, well, I literally view it as, I had heard this beautiful analogy in a podcast, which is like, jump off the cliff before you have it all figured out, and it'll be the most scary thing you do in your life. But once you jump off the cliff, like, your fear is, oh shoot, I'm gonna hit the ground. But there is no ground. Like, the cliff is just infinitely high. So you just keep falling, and you learn to love the rush of the wind on your face, and you feel alive. And it's like, once you jump, you're just ever falling.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful way to live.
And this isn't just for extroverted people, right? If you're introverted thinking, oh, these guys are out here talking about networking, going off and meeting people, doing all this crazy stuff, I'm not comfortable with that. You can still take risk as an introverted person. Yeah. Right. You just need to get out there, and I think you just got to do it while you're young. Right. I think it's just such an opportunity, because if you fail, there's no consequence. I mean, there's basically no consequences. It's a great opportunity, and there's never been more opportunity, more chances to take risks than they have now. You know, back in the 80s or, you know, the 50s or whatever, you would have been ridiculed by your family. If you've listened to the Nike founder, his Shoe Dog, his book, have you heard that book?
I've heard of it. Haven't read it myself.
Oh man, like, his story is unbelievable. But he took a huge risk. Like, I'm talking 18 years. Yeah. It was 18 years before Nike went public, and he made any money. He was basically on like minimum wage for 18 years running Nike. And so, like, he was ridiculed by his family, right? Yeah. But then once it started picking up, anyone who invested with him became instant millionaires. You know, there's a family that put their life savings, $10,000 at the time, which is probably like $100,000 in today's money.
A lot of money. Yeah.
And he was like shitting himself. He's going, oh man, what if it doesn't go through? These are my mate's family. They've looked after me. They're like my second parents. They made like $1 million the second they went public. And the IPO went public. So take risks. There's another. Maybe we've just gone on a bit of a tangent.
Dude, just do it.
But thanks so much for coming in, man.
Dude, 100%,
and before we fully wrap up, where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram. I guess someone else named Andrew Riis took my username. So my Instagram is Andy Riis. So ANDYRIIS. It's Danish. Yep. Or Facebook, just search me up, Andrew Riis.
And I'll put everything in the show notes, or on my Instagram. I'll put it on my social so you can find it out.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, go follow him. And thanks so much for coming on the
podcast.
Dude,
biggest pleasure. Yeah, man.
Awesome, man.
Cool.
All right. If you are still here, thank you so much for listening to this entire episode. If you got some value out of it, it would mean the world to me if you left a review on iTunes or shared it with your friends or family. Otherwise, I'll be putting up videos of this episode on Instagram and Facebook, so check it out there at Byron Dempsey or at Driven Young Podcast, and I'll see you on the next one.